right, Howie is here.
All right.
Hey, your name's Brian?
Brian McCauley. Yes, sir.
Brian McCauley. Where are you from?
I'm from Tewksbury, Massachusetts, actually.
Okay, great. Okay.
So we're going live on my YouTube channel. Yep.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
This is podcast 222 here with Howie Carr. BMAC here. How are you, Howie?
Very good, Brian.
Very good. Let me start with your early career first. So, being born in Maine, how did you get interested in the job of journalism / exposure / political? Like, what made you very interested in that field, I guess, is the question I'm trying to ask.
I went to Deerfield Academy in Massachusetts, and my parents worked there. We lived there. And, they said if you wanted to get into a decent college, you had to have extracurricular activities, and I wasn't a good athlete, so I could write pretty well. So I went to work for the Deerfield paper, the local school newspaper. And then when I went to the University of North Carolina, I just went to work for the daily newspaper down there, the Daily Tar Heel. And so I liked it. So that's how I got into journalism. And when I graduated, I went to work at the Winston-Salem Journal in North Carolina. And then I came back to Boston in 1978.
78. Now, how did you get associated with the Bulger family way back when?
Well, I was just I was covering the State House, and I knew Billy Bulger as the Senate president. He was the most powerful guy in Massachusetts politics, and I used to say, "What's the basis of his power?" And people would tell me, "Well, it doesn't hurt that his brother is a serial killer and running the rackets in South Boston." So I started writing about that somewhat. Nobody else wanted to write about that, and he'd threatened to kill people that worked for both the Herald and the Globe, mostly the Herald. And so I was also on TV by then, and I used to have to drive to the TV station was on Morrissey Boulevard, and I had to drive by his liquor store, Whitey's liquor store, every day. So he got to know who I was, and he really just he would stand outside in the traffic circle, watching people, because they couldn't put a bug in the traffic circle because there was too much noise. And so he would see me driving around the traffic circle, and he would stare at me, and he grew to really despise me and hate me. It wasn't so much I was going after him; it was going after his brother. Yeah. And that's when he started, making threats, threatening to kill me.
Did his brother hate you at all, Billy, or did Whitey hate you more, you think?
No, I think they both hated me. Billy Bulger used to call me the savage. When he was in the Senate, I'd be outside with my TV crew, and he would say inside, "Has the savage left yet?" Meaning me. And I would confront him sometimes at the State House, and he'd go, "Observe my back," and he would turn around and walk away.
Wow.
Which was good TV. I enjoyed it.
Now, did he scare you when you said "observe my back"? Did he scare you when you said "absorb my back"? Did that frighten you at all, or no?
No. I was more concerned about his brother, though. Whitey. One time, one of the anchor from my TV station was in their liquor store, and in South Boston, and he said, "Hey, how come Howie never stops in here on his way home?" And the anchor said, "No, I don't know why." He knew why. And the guy said, it wasn't Whitey or Stevie or Kevin Weeks, it was somebody else. He said, "Will you tell Howie if he ever comes in here, we got a dumpster waiting for him out back."
Wow. So tell me about, how did your radio career get started in radio?
Well, I always listened to the talk radio in Maine. When I worked in Maine in the summers, I listened to Jerry Williams when I was washing dishes, washing glasses. He was the nighttime guy on WBZ, which is a clear channel station, and so I always liked talk radio. And when Jerry Williams came back to Boston, he called me in. He needed somebody who understood politics, who knew all the ins and outs, at the State House and at City Hall. So he invited me to come in, and I could fill in for him pretty well, and I knew all the players, and so I became his fill-in guy. And then we started this segment called The Governors, me, Jerry Williams, and a woman named Barbara Anderson, who ran Citizens for Limited Taxation. And this columnist had written a story saying we were the real three governors of Massachusetts as Mike Dukakis was flaming out in his last term. And so we were amused by the column. So we just started we started broadcasting every Tuesday afternoon as the governors running the state. And, pointing out the hack families, all these people on the public payroll, all the waste, fraud, and abuse that was going on. And I just started filling in for Jerry, and I worked my way up, and that's how I got into radio.
Why do you think the fake news media hates President Trump so much, if you could assess it? What would you say your reasoning or why the fake news media hates our great president, President Trump, you think?
I think it's just that, he upset their apple cart. They thought that they had it won, that they were going to be in power forever. I mean, that's what the whole Russian collusion hoax thing was about. They were so obvious because they never thought they'd be called out on it. And, he represents the forgotten man, if you want to call him that, the deplorables. And he went to bat for people who had been getting pushed around for a very, very long time, people of all ethnic groups, all race, religions, colors, and creeds. And that just drove them crazy because these people think that they're the
godsend,
the top of the heap. They're the elite. And it's become it's become almost a religion with them. You see these, they can't tolerate any dissent. They don't want to have any debate. It's like it's like anyone who disagrees with them is a heretic, an infidel. And I keep thinking they'd like to do to a lot of us. I think in some ways what the English did to Joan of Arc, which is burn at the stake, burn us at the stake, cancel us.
Yeah. So, how did you first meet President Trump? How did you first meet President Trump in the first place? I'd be curious to know that story.
Well, he was I guess I met him when he started. I was supposed to interview him when he came up to Nashua, New Hampshire, to speak, or Manchester, to speak at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast, but he canceled out. So when he started running for president in 2015, I just thought, this is just another publicity stunt. So I watched him on TV, and when he came down the escalator, I said, wow, this is great. I love this. And so I knew Corey Lewandowski, who was his campaign manager. And so Ernie Bach Jr. said, why don't you, can you set it up so that we can have him come into Norwell to my big estate, as a big estate in Norwell, Ernie Bach Jr. Yep. And can you help set it up? And so I did. And he came in, and he wanted to see me. But I think before that, I'd actually met him at Mar-a-Lago. I was with Chris Ruddy, the guy who owns Newsmax, where I work sometimes. And Chris Ruddy brought me over to Mar-a-Lago, and we started talking to him, and I got to know him. And he said, he looked over and said, "Would you guys like this place?" And I said, "Yeah, this is great, Mar-a-Lago." And he turned to his guy and he said, "Put him on the membership rolls." So we became members down there, and so we hung out there, and then I got to know him, and he was at this event in Norwell. Or Norwood, excuse me, Norwood. Yep. And I got along with him, and he liked to come on the show, and he knew some of the people that I knew, and he knew he could kind of relax on my show, and he was just using it. He thinks of me more as being from New Hampshire. I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm from Maine, but I've lived I've owned property in New Hampshire. My father worked up there, but I'm more from the other two states than New Hampshire. But he always thinks of me as being from New Hampshire because I was, he always, was with me when he was campaigning in New Hampshire during the primary and then during the general election. Yeah.
I know a friend of yours you might know. Do you know a friend of mine named Jim Lyons? He's the chairman of the Massachusetts Republican Party.
Oh, sure. Yes, yep. I know Jim.
Yes, yeah, Jim's a wonderful guy. I've actually sang for him a couple of times at several events. And my question for you is this, why is it that YouTube censors people like you and me for speaking our minds? Is it because the corporate media backs YouTube, or is it because YouTube has an agenda that they don't want us to know about? What do you think that their purpose behind censoring people like me and you is behind that?
Well, want to control the narrative. They don't like you or me or Donald Trump. It's all part of the same. I mean, that's what Donald Trump always says at the rallies. He said, they're going after me, but the people they're really coming after are you. You got to remember that. And I think most people know that, but it's always a good reminder to have that. They don't want any kind of dissenting opinion out there. They don't believe in the First Amendment. They don't believe in free speech. I mean, I kept getting censored on YouTube last year. We would have a guy from Denver, an ophthalmologist, on to talk about the COVID vaccination. We'd talk about the government's own COVID statistics. And every time that we would have this guy on, we'd be banned from YouTube for 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, we weren't spouting out QAnon conspiracy theories. We were talking about the government's own statistics. And that was too much. They cannot accept any kind of dissent. It's a very dangerous trend in America.
It is. And so, how do you deal with callers on the radio that want to pick a fight with you? They just want to argue. How do you deal with those kind of callers that just call just to fight with you?
I don't mind. I like to get those kind of callers. It makes for good radio. We had a guy last night named Wardell who voted for
Dementia Joe.
Biden. And and I was just saying, this is all on you, Wardell. You screwed me and everybody who's listening to the show. Do you feel bad? Do you feel guilty about what you did to us? What you did to the whole country? And he was just kind of laughing. But most of them don't have a sense of humor like that. They're true believers. They're zealots. It's like you're dealing with a cult member. There used to be cult members, Lyndon LaRouche's cult, Hare Krishna's. They were around in the 70s. They'd be in front of courthouses. They'd be on the Boston Common. And you couldn't really talk to them. And they needed to be deprogrammed. And a lot of these people I see on, on MSNBC or NPR or CNN, I mean, you know what? They need a deprogrammer too.
Yeah.
They need to be confronted with reality. Their minds have been kidnapped by these nutty Democrats.
Now, how did you first meet Grace Curley? Or get to know Grace Curley, I should say.
Grace Curley, she was. When we went out on our own in 2014, started our own network. She was working as a waitress, and her mother was on our mailing list. And so the mailroom manager, my wife, put out an email blast that said that anyone who's looking to be I need a personal assistant for my sales operation. So anyone who's interested, give me a call. And so Grace's mother saw that, and she said, Grace, you should apply for the job. It'll give you a start in media. And so Grace applied for the job, got to become a sales assistant, and she was working doing menial tasks basically. And one day she said, just in passing, she said, I don't know anybody who drinks Budweiser beer. And I thought, wow, this is a great millennial versus boomer type of subject. So I said, why don't you come on tonight and discuss how you don't know anybody who drinks Budweiser beer? And that was the start of her career on air.
So I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Okay. Do you do any appearances in Tewksbury, the local area? Because I'd love to come see you sometime if you're ever in Tewksbury, like Massachusetts, Billerica area.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done any lately. We used to go up to the paper store sometimes, and I think there's a 110 Grill in Billerica. Okay. It just depends on where we can set up appearances. We don't go to bookstores as much anymore because there aren't as many bookstores, and so it just depends on where we can book an event into. Well, I'd love to get into Tewksbury or Billerica. We have gotten a lot of great stuff out of. People come to my events and they give me stuff that I can turn around, whether it's, a picture of Whitey Bulger as a youth or the files on the one time I think in Billerica, I got at a paper store, a Lowell police detective delivered me all the files from the Lowell Police Department, which they were going to throw out on the takeover of gambling in Lowell back in the 70s by the Winter Hill Gang. It was great stuff. I love going out on the road. I meet people, and I get a lot of information that way. I got most of my book, Plug Uglies, came out of a book signing in Winchester, Massachusetts. The wife of an old-time lawyer brought me hundreds of pages of old state police documents. That's the way you got to do. That's the way you got to be a journalist. You got to get out on the street and meet people, and keep working your sources all the time.
Do you think podcasting will eventually take over the journalist, like the news, because news networks and corporate media is terrible now? Do you think podcasting eventually will kind of blow that away?
I don't know. I mean, you got to monetize podcasting. You got to figure out a way to make money from it. We did Dirty Rats podcast, and it was pretty impressive podcast, on the organized crime.
Yeah.
But, we couldn't really make any money off of it. It took a lot of work by me and Grace Kelly, Grace Burley, and Taylor.
Yeah.
And, we got some prestige, but not too much money. I mean, I have some Howie Winter tapes, the former head of the Winter Hill Gang that we made, and the script is all written, and I gave some of it to Reels for this documentary that we did earlier in the year.
Yep.
Bloody Boston.
Yep.
But we've never totally turned it around because what's the point if we can't sell it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem. And I understand that podcasting is kind of beginning to fade out a little now that people have to go back to work. When people were just sitting around their house not doing anything, they were listening to more podcasts than they are now, I think.
Yeah. Now, your book, What Happened book, the 2016 election book, is that book an audio book? What happened? What really happened? Is that an audio book, you think, at all?
No. The only audio books I have are my first two books with New York publishers, The Brothers Bulger and Hitman. I think Hitman is an audio book as well.
Yeah.
And I thought that, being in radio, that they would allow me to read the book, Brothers Bulger, but they never even asked me if I wanted to try out for the book. So when I heard it, someone was there and they were mispronouncing names from Boston. They didn't mispronounce Bulger, but they mispronounced Paul Salucci's name as Salucci. And I was just grimacing when I heard that.
Wow. Well, Howie, thanks for coming on the show today, Howie, and I hope to meet you at some point, at some appearance. If you're ever in the local Tewksbury area, I'll come and Saturday if you like. I'd love to come and see you sometime.
Okay, well, that's great. I'd like to see you, and tell anybody who wants to sponsor a remote broadcast. Would be glad to get up there into the valley.
Absolutely, man. And, also, Jim Lyons says hello too, so I want to know you said hello too. My good friend Jim Lyons.
Oh, that's good. I talked to him all the time. I talked to him earlier this week about the upcoming petition drive that put the issue of illegal alien driver's licenses on the ballot. So I'm in touch with him all the time.
When you talk to
great.
Oh, well, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Howie. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate it.
Ready to end it?
Thank you, guys. Great podcast. Thank you to Howie Carr for a great interview. And see you guys next week for more great podcast. 223, 224. Thank you, guys. Okay. That's true. Did you like it?